Let's rock.
Woo!
Yeah, excited. Okay, hello and welcome back to the Cineskinny. It is the film podcast from the Skinny magazine and everybody's here. The whole gang for the first time this year. It's me, Anahi.
Hello.
Jamie.
Hello.
And Ellie.
Hello.
We have got actually quite a full show today, which is nice. We've got 2 films to review, the Josh O'Connor and Paul Mescal, The History of Sound, and Park Chan-wook's new one, No Other Choice. Ellie and Jamie were at the Glasgow Film Festival press launch, which was today when we're recording, but 2 days ago if you're listening. So, it's not important. They were at the launch and they're going to tell us what's in the programme. Just a little bit to get everyone enthralled ahead of the festival, which is next month. We're also going to do a bit of what we've been watching and all this other kind of stuff. But Jamie has promised us a little story when we started. He said, I've got a little story. And then in his notes it says, start with a wee story.
It's written down in Comic Sans as well, which I'm getting total pelters for.
Hey, you're getting pelters from one member of the team.
Nameless.
Yeah. And we'll never find out who.
Right. New Roman over here.
Well, yeah.
Seraph, you going Seraph? You're not going for like a nice Helvetica, Ariel, Calibri?
Safe, all safe options.
Yeah.
Too safe. I like Times New Roman. I like that
You're
people
going
hate
for
it.
Windings.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Going for papyrus font in honor of the Wicker Man remake. Oh, it's like Ellie signing off every document with "for Joey Ramone." Right, okay, we're getting too deep into the weeds on the Wicker Man remake. Jamie's got a wee story to tell us. Jamie, hit me, and the rest of us.
So other weekend I went to a wee house party. It was actually a galette party. Has anybody been to a galette party before?
Oh, yeah.
Right, okay, I've not. What's a galette party?
A galette party is it's a kind of Christmas tradition. Just after Christmas, people in France and other countries, I think it's quite other places as well, eat a cake which has baked into it this little trinket, and if the person gets that slice, they are the king for the day or the queen for the day. But it also involves somebody sitting under their table. It's kind of quite quaint and nice. The youngest person, has to sit under the table.
Go on.
And picks who gets the next slice, so it's fair. There's no kind of cheating.
Okay.
But anyway.
Do they sit under the table and then determine who's going to get the next slice from still under the table?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Makes sense. Carry on.
But I had a strange thing happen at the party. Someone recognised my voice from the podcast. I met someone who listens to the podcast who's not a relative or not someone I press ganged to listen.
Not my husband or one of my colleagues. Genuine.
Someone who's not obliged to listen listens.
Who were they?
They're called Andrea.
Bear in mind, you don't have to dox them just because Annie asked.
Yeah, they are listening right now.
And do you know how I knew Andrea was a listener? She knew all your names.
That's so
Aww.
weird.
Oh,
No, I mean, that's nice. That's just strange.
Thank you, listener. I'm going to thank you on behalf of Annie.
So
I just meant that's a strange interaction. Carry on.
it's not strange. If you listen to that, you learn people's names.
No, I don't mean like they were being strange. I mean like that's unusual.
That is unusual. That
Yeah, it's
doesn't
an
happen a lot.
experience. Well, then there we go.
Okay.
So there's at least one.
There is at least one. So you can work that out, Pierre, from the stats we get.
Did they say they liked it?
They don't actually say they liked it. I presume they liked it. They listen to it a lot. They say they work at a venue in Edinburgh and they use it like when they're like coming to like lock up and stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
So
That is sweet.
and it's good because they're a big film fan and they get to keep up with what's happening, and they really like that we talk about local stuff. Like we're going to do this episode where we're going to talk about the GFF.
Lovely.
You know,
That's
we're
great.
giving the people what they want.
Genuinely, it is nice to know that people are listening.
It was really
That's
nice.
nice.
Yeah.
It was super nice.
Well,
Did
that's
you
what-
feel famous, Jamie?
Yeah. I was like, is this how it feels to be like a superstar?
I got out from under the table and I said, look, I am a big deal.
I was trying to say, do you want an autograph? Do you want some selfies? She wasn't interested. She left the room. Went and ate her galette in the in the kitchen.
Do you want a selfie? It's an audio format.
Yeah.
I also stole her partner's hood by mistake. So I have your hood if you're listening.
Hood.
Not their hood, their scarf.
Okay.
Their scarf somehow got put in my hood. At
Like
the
that
party.
episode of Friends with the pie in the hood.
Pie in the hood, pie in the hood.
So I did tell the host of the party to pass on the info, but Andrea, if you're listening,
It's more
I have Lucas's scarf. Give me a shout.
Oh, great.
Contact the Cineskinny at Cineskinny. Skinny.co.uk to get your scarf back.
Ellie, what have you been watching?
Well, I said a quick prayer at the Bone Temple the other day. 28 years later, new film at GFT. Yeah, we've been doing bits about it, but I got to admit, the bid is up. This is the worst name for a film that I think I can possibly imagine. 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Completely unnecessary because The Bone Temple is in the previous film. And also, nobody calls it The Bone Temple. Ralph Fiennes' character calls it the ossuary or a memento mori because like a big part of that film is that they're trying to give like some dignity to people who die in this apocalyptic world. And then they've just named the second one after what sounds like a WWE exhibit. Like I fully expected The Undertaker to show up at some point.
It sounds like a metaphor for humping. Like, let's be real. Care to join me in the Bone Temple? Like, let's be honest. Like, it's bad in a number of different ways, but I think maybe me and Ellie were thinking it's bad in slightly different ways. But I think we're both in agreement. It's a bad name.
It's bad. It's pretty bad. It's, as a film, pretty decent. Like, a pretty decent follow-on from the 28 Years Later by Danny Boyle. This one's by Nia DaCosta. And there are a few of the kind of strange little ways in which he made that idiosyncratic. They're gone. Like, there's no crazy Young Fathers soundtrack. It's not been filmed on a rig of like 5 iPhone 15s glued together. It's just a film, but like a pretty compelling one, and one that like just really takes the two kind of characters that were built up in the last one and kind of throws them at each other. Maybe it is a WWE exhibition. Maybe it is just like a big wrestling cage match between Ralph Fiennes and, is it Jack O'Connell? Jack O'Connell's his name, right? Yeah. Can I talk about the villain? Can I share my hot take on the villain without spoil? I'm just going to spoil the last one.
Right, 3, 2, 1. If anyone doesn't want the 28 years later films spoiled, then jump forward 5 minutes.
Okay.
Ellie, you've got
Here
4
we go.
minutes and 50.
Great. They make Jimmy Savile very uwu. Like,
What? Is he in it?
well, the point being,
Honestly,
that, like,
didn't see that one coming.
the main bad guy is a Satanist who has like modeled himself after Jimmy Savile because civilization ended in 2001, so he was still revered as this like, you know, I don't know, great sort of celebrity figure. And the guy was a child at the time the world ends, so he doesn't really remember. He just remembers that this guy fixes things. And, you know, it's part of 28 Years Later's theme of like presenting Britain as like very, like a very fucked up backwards island that's very complicit in its own violence and stuff like that. And at the time I felt very kind of conflicted because I'm like, that is an effective, like really effective way of doing that, but also hits my personal ick factor of like exploiting a real life crime for an entertainment movie to, you know, which has like, you know, very much like still alive victims. And then I feel in this film that they do not follow through and they do not like justify the use of this like quite shocking image. And in fact, Jack O'Connell plays him like very well as just like a pretty bog standard villain, and that villain that has the kind of like, oh, he's obviously a sadist and very kind of inventive in how cruel he is, but that's juxtaposed with how charming and funny he is. And I just think it's a bit of a misfire because every single fucking time Jack O'Connell speaks in this film, the entire audience laughed. So they love this Jimmy Savile dude, and I feel like it's not doing a good job at actually criticizing this kind of weird complicity that we've had in revering like figures that were protected for so long.
Please tell me he doesn't say now then.
he never actually references.
Because I was going to say, like, it would make no sense to anyone outside of Britain because he's not a...
Yeah,
you know.
I've already seen social media posts being like, hey, US watchers of 28 Years Later, here's one reason you shouldn't dress up as the bad guy this Halloween. And it's like, yeah, I do feel like this very like strong image was used not very responsibly, and like I object to it in the first place, but I do not think that they used it particularly smart. But like I say, the film itself as like a zombie film is kind of interesting, and Ralph Fiennes is amazing in it. There's a sequence where he like essentially the first act is a rom-com, and he's just like studying this one zombie that he has held captive, and they like fall in love, they become besties. It's so watchable, and then by the end he lip syncs along to Iron Maiden, and it genuinely like did things to me in the cinema.
What
So that's
kind
20
of things?
good things, all good things, powerful things.
And also any film that's going to make Americans have to like dig into someone else's culture and think about it for 2 minutes before adopting its iconography, brackets bad, is probably on balance a good thing.
That happens to us all the time. Like, the amount of American films I watch and I have no idea what they're talking about because it's some sort of cult American thing.
Yeah. What even is Wall Street? It's pronounced Quality Street. Anna, have you watched anything?
I have watched Marty Supreme. I watched Marty Supreme. I thought it was really fun. It cured my anxiety disorder because about halfway through I was like, this isn't my life, and there's much to be grateful for.
Were
here.
you just like, nah, it could be worse?
Like literally, I was like, at least I'm not behaving like this. Like, this is fucking crazy. Why is he doing this? Like when the bathtub fell, I was like, oh, this is actually insane. But I thought it was really, really good. I think maybe my favorite, well, I think I've only seen this and Uncut Gems out of things that the Safdies have done collectively. I think Uncut Gems is probably a better film. I liked this more because it was easier to watch. It was slightly less stressful. Like, it's a bit funny. It's a little bit kooky. And so it goes down like a bit easier. But I really like that. And then I watched, as is tradition now, I only watch Severance on trains. So I had like a 9-hour train journey to Devon last week and back. And I watched almost all of the second season, apart from the last 2 episodes. And it's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it is really good.
Yeah.
It is really good. I really like it.
I remember it coming out, but I don't remember specifics.
Have you
about-
seen it?
Yeah, I've seen the
Okay.
first 2 seasons, but like I said, I was watching it as it was coming out, and I feel like I kind of wasn't paying. I feel like I watched things better when I kind of watched them in chunks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is also how I feel, I think. My brain has got used to like binge watching. It's all the stuff with like the reintegration and like what happens with
Yeah.
that.
Severance 2, one of the few prestige American series that is actually successful at doing the thing of stepping away from the main story for a bit to talk about one character for a while.
Yes.
Because so often when they do that, it is an obvious attempt to fudge the budget.
Yeah.
Or because they are unable to get everyone in the room at the same time.
Yeah.
Turns out it's actually good, and that is the trick. The secret trick of making good television is to know what you're doing and be competent.
Yes, and do good storytelling. Yeah, I think the last 2 episodes that I saw, one of them was the one that focuses on, like, does the flashbacks to the past of their marriage. And then the other was the one that, like, focuses on Mrs. Selvig. And it's kind of like a little digression. And both of them were so, so good. Because, yeah, they're those, like, little, almost like a bottle episode. But normally in these things, they don't work. And it worked really, really well. So, yeah, that's what I've been doing. And I've also started rewatching House. But we don't need to talk about that.
Not now. We'll talk about it later. Jamie, what have you been watching? Because you haven't just been at parties meeting listeners of the podcast and accidentally stealing their clothes.
Yes, I've also been watching the whole bloody affair at GFT last night, actually. So Monday
Is
night.
this Kill Bill 1 and
It's
2
Kill Bill.
brackets together.mp4?
Yeah, on 35mm at GFT, and what a really good time at the movies that was. Yeah, I hadn't. It's that kind of thing. I hadn't seen it in such a long time that I'd start to forget bits as well. And I just forgot how just good Uma Thurman is in that film. She's just like incredible. Like the range of stuff she's got to do is insane, and it's amazing that she never got any kind of Oscar nominations or anything for it, because it is like just a standout performance. And yeah, I think I appreciated the second part more as well. Like when I first saw it, obviously the first volume is more fun. It's got that great massive action sequence at the kind of House of the Blue Leaves, which is really memorable and funny and inventive. And then the second half doesn't feel as action packed. It's much more kind of emotional. But I feel that when you put them together, they kind of are much more complete film. And I think it's really shot up the rankings of my Quentin Tarantino rankings. It's like very near the top now. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
What's the running time in total?
Oh God, well, it must be like close to 4 hours, more than 4 hours probably.
Was there a break?
Yeah, there's a little intermission. So like, yeah, the first film's maybe a bit longer. So the first film's like maybe 2.5 hours. The second film's like 2 hours, so maybe 4.5 hours on it.
Well, that, you know what? You get your money's worth. So that's something to think about. It's cold out there. You know, get 4.5 hours of the GFT's heating.
Yeah, that's
See
nice.
see what accessories you can swipe on the way out. Just off people's chairs. Be like, I'm on a podcast. Don't worry, it's fine. Right, first film of the week is The History of Sound. So 2 of our favourite sweet golden boys are together in one film. It's Paul Mescal and Josh O'Connor in the new film from Oliver Hermanus, who directed Moffy, and what was the other film that he made, Jamie?
He's made a few. He made one called Beauty,
Yes.
and he made that one with Bill Nighy.
Living.
Living. Yeah.
That was the Ishiguro script, I think. Yeah.
And he also did that King James saucy TV series. I interviewed Tony
Is it
Carter.
William and Mary? Is
That's
what
the
it's
one.
called.
Yes, I think that's maybe it. Yeah,
Yeah. So he
Mary Villiers.
so he's the director of those things, has directed this film, which is about a pair of musicians and music students in America in the beginning in the 1910s, who kind of strike up a friendship and relationship while they're at a kind of music college in the northeast of America. And then after one of them goes away to the war and comes back, they go on a trip to document the folk songs of various parts of northeastern America. So that is the premise. Full stop. End of paragraph. Anahi, two sweet boys.
Two sweet boys.
Two sweet boys with some tender moments. Mm-hmm. Seems like a recipe for success now.
It does, yeah.
But is that recipe correctly cooked? Question mark?
Question mark, question mark.
Question mark, question mark, question mark.
I think probably not, but I actually really liked this film. But I think it's a very, very flawed film. I'm going to read someone else's Letterboxd review because I just think it's so funny, who did not like it, who gave it 2 stars. "This is a sign to stop summoning the same 6 white dudes to do these sad gay romance movies once a year like it's jury duty." Which I'm like, yeah, kind of some points made. And I actually think the thing that is the selling point of this film is the bringing together of Paul Mescal and Josh O'Connor, 2 very sexy, lovely white boys. I actually think that's the part of the film that works the least well, because I don't think the script or the direction does quite enough to shore up the relationship between these 2 people, the chemistry between these 2 people. The lights in the office are once again slowly turning off around
As soon as you get negative, the lights go down.
so cursed. Fucking hate this place. Anyway. Can someone move?
Sorry, I just... you know what? One more for good luck. You know what, Jimmy, you'll hear it when you do the edit. Right. So as the lights continue to die...
This is crazy. Anyway, yeah, I think that bit... God bless you, Ellie. Thank you. Ellie has gone to do some motions. Yeah. I think it's all the way down there. Is this good radio?
I mean, our listener will tell us.
The way Ellie has walked to the other end of this office. There we go. Thank you.
And what I would say as well as for our listeners is that Ellie was walking the entire time. It wasn't like they stopped to tie their shoelace, or she gave up halfway through. She was on the move
the entire time. Anyway,
so Josh O'Connor and Paul Mescal.
Yes.
I wonder. So I'm just going to very quickly butt in because I agree with you to say that I feel like this is the kind of film that got made on the basis that it was Josh O'Connor and Paul Mescal as a pair of guys in this kind of relationship, friendship situation. Yes. But that it almost it is proof that direction is very, very important because this is a film that is less than the sum of its parts, is my feeling on it.
I think it's less than the sum of those parts specifically. I think the relationship part of it doesn't necessarily work. It's not, there isn't that much chemistry. There isn't that much romance. They are, unfortunately, it's a case of putting 2 hot people in the same room together and being surely this will work. And not every hot person is meant for every other hot person. And that's okay, especially if the script doesn't really justify it. So I think that part of it to me felt a little bit weak, and it made a lot of the repercussions of what that relationship is, because it kind of starts with this relationship when they're in this conservatoire together, and then this folk recording trip that they take together, and then a lot of it is then Paul Mescal's character looking back over that relationship. Actually, the bulk of the film is his own kind of interior experience and feelings of grief and loss and time passing. And I actually thought it did those bits of it in a really, really lovely way. There's still something quite fragmentary about it. There are a lot of threads that are picked up and dropped. But the way that it thought, or depicted that sort of sense of like grief and being a bit like this one thing happening in your past that continues in some way to haunt your life forever, even if you can't really explain why it had like such a big impact on you. I thought it was really, really lovely. I thought the music in this film is fucking great. Like the folk songs are really lovely. It has a beautiful soundtrack by Oliver Coates, who did the music for After Sun and Occupied City. And I think it's genuinely one of the best film composers working at the moment. Like I love everything that he does. And so, yeah, it has like really, really beautiful kind of how, yeah, like music can articulate like cultures and can articulate histories and like griefs. I think the ending of it is stunning. I wish the rest of the film had been as good as the ending of it is. But yeah, I actually really loved it. I felt quite like warmly towards it, even though I can recognize that there are whole parts of the film that don't quite work and it's a little bit of a flawed effort. But I've seen worse films.
Mm-hmm.
She's seen worse films.
Yeah.
Jamie, any advance on that?
I was super looking forward to this because I really like Oliver Hammoness's early films, Mafia and Beauty, because they're actually about restrained characters. He makes really good films about people who are coiled up, and in those films they like eventually explode with like passion or violence, or like, you know, there's always a release. And I felt like the problem with this film is it didn't really have that release. It has that kind of coiled, restrained romance, and I don't know. I just felt the kind of melodrama of it, the kind of the tragedy of it, never really came to the fore for me. I think part of it is direction. I also wanted I'm sorry, but I think I'm going to blame Paul Mescal. I don't know if he quite has the range to do this interior stuff. Like he's not really given much in this film. Like I think he's certainly not given enough. And I actually disagree a little bit. I actually, while I agree that the writing about the relationship wasn't that good, I think at least when Josh O'Connor was on screen, he had someone to bounce off, and I feel like actually he seemed much more comfortable when he was sharing the screen. But when he was on his own, I felt like he didn't quite know how he was putting across what his character's feeling. And I think that's amplified because at the end of the film, another actor steps in to play him as an older man, and the film just becomes better. Like Chris Cooper comes in, and suddenly, I can understand the melancholy straight away because Chris Cooper just exudes it. And I feel like Paul Mescal, he's very good at certain things, and obviously he's been amazing in some films. But yeah, I just think he didn't quite work in this film. Also felt like, as much as I agree that the folk music's really good, I felt like it didn't feel like a film about loving this music. I never at any point felt like the music came alive for me. Also, Paul Mescal's singing it, and we're meant to believe that he's some sort of prodigy, like one of the best singers in the world, and he's not. So like, you can't really get over that either. So the film is I think the film's got a lot of flaws. I agree it's not bad. Like I found it very watchable, but I just do think once Josh O'Connor disappears from the screen for a while, I didn't enjoy it as much when it's just Paul Mescal traipsing around the world in different locations, kind of like fucking up his life. Or not even fucking up his life, just deciding, we follow him and he tries different relationships, different jobs. He goes back and forward, and he never settles. But enough was, he didn't communicate to me why he was so on board.
Yeah, for me, like the final third of the film is good, but until that point, it feels like somebody reading a book to you slightly too quickly. Like it never settles on anything for long enough, and that is why it is when it becomes kind of smaller and more deliberately interior is when it gets more effective. When it starts to, and when it's kind of telling that's partly when like Chris Cooper becomes involved, because like right at it feels like one of those films early where like they're like, you don't understand, the first hour is just constantly on the move because it has to get all this information in. It's like, my brother in Christ, you made the film. Like, don't tell me that the reason it's like this is because it has to be like this. Like, could it not have been something else?
Like, there's a whole lot of stuff in this film that I actually really like, but some of it feels quite quarantined away from each other. Like, it was apparently based on multiple short stories written by the screenwriter. So I wonder if that sort of ties in with what you were saying, Annie, about it not being the sum of its parts. Because like, there's this scene where they're going on this trip to these like rural, like really cut off areas, to these like farmer families with this recording equipment with wax cylinders, and explaining to them like how sound will be recorded. And that's like a huge thing to think about, like the very first time that people would have like heard voices that didn't come from other people. And like, I don't know, there is a sense of that within the film, of this like huge, this history, right? This huge kind of like moment. But in those scenes when Josh O'Connor and Paul Mescal are together, there's absolutely no like communication to the viewer whatsoever that there is like love between these two people. Like their love scenes are very much kind of claustrophobic, like placed very far away from anything else that they're actually doing. And yeah, so it just sometimes feels like there's a slightly unrealized potential throughout the film. It's very weird to me that one of the first things that happens in the film, in the opening narration, Paul Mescal explains that his character has synesthesia, so he can like associate certain visions and colors with different keys. And I expected that to show for like a very interesting like perspective. Did you expect it
to be mentioned one more time in
yes,
the entire film?
I did actually. I think that because he has synesthesia, his vision is worse, which is why he has glasses, which is why he doesn't get into World War I or something like that. There's like some incredibly tenuous link there. But like, no, the film actually like doesn't do a lot with the sense of things being sensory. Like, if anything, there were times where I was sat and like, you know, these handsome boys are like sitting in a tent together with their tops off, but like all of the lighting is like quite white and quite like cold. And I'm feeling cold because of how it's presented, but they don't seem to reference that. That doesn't seem to be acknowledged by the characters. So it's like they're not really like embracing opportunities to use like texture or lighting to kind of convey a sense of touch, which I think could have been really useful and really, really interesting. But it's just sort of like, yeah, I don't really know why this is happening. And then when there are instances in the plot that feel slightly more tropey, I think they're a lot worse off for it, because you're kind of like pairing it against what an intriguing setup it was.
Yeah, because and I think the thing about the synesthesia thing gets at like one of my main issues of the film is that it's real. It a couple of times just tells you things that are not evidenced by the rest of the film. And it's like, this guy's the greatest singer anyone's ever seen. It's like, well, no. This guy like envisages music in a completely different way from all these other. There's no like the film within the interior logic of the film that's not shown to actually be the case. I do want to give a shout out for there's a point when Paul Mescal's character goes to Rome and he is in a choir in Rome. And then he says, I'm considering going to England. And then it cuts to a group of men who each look like a differently shaped potato. And they don't even have to put on the screen that this is England. You immediately know that this like strange like group of carbuncles in tan suits with various different kinds of mustache, you know that these are English people. And you're like, and I had a good old chuckle at that. But other than that, I thought the film was fine. Which I was disappointed at, because like I think that the final third is very good, but the 2/3 before that, it just feels like it's in a rush to get nowhere in particular. And then when it does eventually like kind of hit the turn and starts to recontextualize some of the things that have happened throughout the film, it's like for me, it had used up a lot of my goodwill by the time it had reached that point.
Yeah, like you should have done this earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all like very true. I think it just emotionally hit me in a particular way, which I liked, I thought. But I don't.
Whereas I'm a cold, emotionless husk. So nice try,
That's
Ollie.
not what I'm saying.
It's also a crime that it's not sexy enough. Come on, you get these two young actors who have not been shy about taking their clothes off, who have done really great queer roles. And then why is the love scenes so chaste? Why is it so kind of weirdly like shot? Like there's even a scene where like, what are they doing here? Like they're kind of like dry humping or something. I don't know what's going on. Like it's just like, I don't know. Like it just seems strange. Like there's something up that they didn't want to do it. They felt like Paul Mescal was getting forced to make this film or something. He just didn't seem happy to be there.
Paul Mescal executive produced this film.
I agree. I think, yeah, that is the relationship between them just wasn't really developed enough, and you didn't really feel that. I liked that idea that you could be haunted by someone for so long, and I think that was conveyed quite well. But what wasn't conveyed well was why he would be haunted by this particular person when it didn't actually really feel like anything while it was happening.
Yeah. I think they're also getting something like songs are a bit like love. You know, this ephemeral thing that just happens, and like, you know, these songs that get lost because people just remember them. So like that, it's that kind of thing, like that love that is a bit like that folk song that you need to keep it going. You need to keep thinking about it. You need to keep sort of like recording it in your brain almost. But like it was just very kind of like not fully thought through.
Yeah,
that kind of part of it.
And to pull it right back to the kind of ethnomusicology that these guys are ostensibly doing, when you listen to those kind of like old field recordings, there is something kind of like rough and scratchy and like raw and honest about them. And it's I found it a little bit frustrating that like the music in the film is very beautiful, but it is very beautiful, if you know what I mean. Like they're coming across these kind of like singers in the kind of hinterlands of northeastern America, and they all sing like, concert vocalists. And then when they listen back to the recordings all sound good. It's like there should be more kind of like grit and dirt and kind of scratchiness, and then that might give it more of a kind of like rawness to the film. It felt a little bit like some of the edges had been kind of smoothed off.
Yeah.
I did like their little outfits. Did anybody else like the little outfits?
Yeah.
They're all wearing like braces and like collarless shirts and big high-waisted trousers.
Yeah.
I like that.
And
I liked how his underwear changed.
Yeah, I like putting those
the...
boys in weird little outfits.
And I liked Paul Mescal's kind of like neo Ned Flanders look at one point when he had the glasses and the little mustache. But anyway, that's the history of sound. So out of 5, what did we all think? I'll come to you first, Ellie. Out of 5.
I'll say 3.
Cool. Jamie?
2 for me.
Whoa. Jesus.
It's so shocking I hit the microphone. Annie.
I would say 3.5.
I think I'm probably going to go for a 3. I think I liked the end, and I think if we're saying to an odd, like, if you're going to go to the cinema this weekend, and you don't fancy the film that we're about to discuss next, this will probably be a good fallback option. And if it comes on streaming, which it'll come on Mubi, I believe, fairly soon, you'll probably have a nice evening in watching it.
Yeah.
But it's not going to tear up any trees.
No.
Stick that on the poster. It's the history of sound and it's out this weekend. Okay, good news. Park Chan-wook's back. And he is as exciting as ever, the director of Old Boy, Joint Security Area, The Handmaiden, and the excellent, and I believe reviewed on this podcast, Decision to Leave, is back with a new film called No Other Choice. This has been long in the making. It is a story of our horrible end of capitalism times. It is about a man who works in a paper factory who is laid off and out of work. House is about to get repossessed. Dogs are away with his in-laws. Things are going badly. And he needs to get a new job in the paper industry. So naturally, the best thing for him to do is to orchestrate a series of increasingly bizarre attempts on people's lives who he sees as challengers to his rightful place in the upper management of a Korean paper mill. Park Chan-wook directed this, and it stars your man who was the main baddie in Squid Game, a man whose name I have forgotten.
Is it Lee Byung-hun?
It is Lee Byung-hun. Ellie, after helping me out with that, thank you very much. I didn't have my notes open on my phone. I'm going to come to you first. Did you like this film? Please tell me you did, because I really like this film.
Yeah, I really, really like this film. I think this is a pretty strong entry into the whole, like, eat the rich, anti-capitalist film movement. Although it's not very eat the rich in the sense that there's not, like, an obvious character who is doing this to everyone. It's a little bit more like that film we did a while back that was, like, Evil Does Not Exist, where it's just that this system in which people are obviously going to be trying to do what's best for them will create this kind of like incredibly ruthless and ultimately lethal job market. But there is like a little bit of a role here that like family members play in this film, where we see in his own family and in the families that he's practically stalking, the men who are like going through unemployment keep getting told like things like, I think they say something like, it's not that you lost your job, it's how you deal with it. So I think that there is a little bit of cultural criticism in there for how people can kind of like tie their identity to their work, and when they lose it, they can go crazy, like our boy does here. But it's a pretty like simple and I think weirdly wholesome lesson, right, for like a film that does get so dark and has this really strong, quite dark closing image. But there's just something so like perfectly indulgent about it all. It's done in this like very sort of vibrant filter, which I call the, I don't know, dystopia filter. All of the trees are like really, really green and the sky is really, really blue, so you know something's up. I don't know exactly where it is in Korea that it's shot, but it's like this beautiful area with all these like modernist concrete houses separated by like vast wilderness, and like plants and kind of like horticulture is a weird recurring visual motif. But as sort of indulgent as it is in that like very kind of like shiny, saturated look, it is indulgent in its really like graphic imagery, which I really appreciated, that it has this kind of like violence that's very strange and weirdly like nice and symmetrical, and you kind of hate how good it looks. As a matter of fact, I think that I hate how good the guy gets at murder, because when he kind of starts out, he's so disastrously inept and the scenes are so kind of riotous and funny for how badly they go. But then when he starts getting really good at it, it gets really, really elaborate and quite like sad to watch it all play out. And I do like that. I like films that kind of like draw you in with like quite a goofy and usual like the kind of sort of violence that you see in film where it is at a distance from yourself, but then it makes you feel bad by the end because like it gets a little too real, it gets a little too aggressive. And yeah, like I don't know, like it's interesting to see that he doesn't become more efficient. He doesn't make the deaths quicker or cleaner. They just get kind of like more elaborate, and kind of like, I think with the maybe some of the visual points that it's making with this like very kind of, you know, bright suburbia world, he's really like dredging up how unhappy their lives are and the kind of like deep structural problems in their family dynamics because he's spending so long stalking them. So I just think that it's really, really interesting. It is like, I think, not an absolutely revolutionary point to be making about how bad AI is getting at automating people out of their jobs. But at the same time, I think it gives you a unique perspective. I think that it's really compellingly shot, and it's like an interesting story that kind of just keeps you in the whole way. I had a great time.
Yeah, I think as well, like, this is my kind of film, because you all know I love an oaf. And the amount of oafery, bumbling, and just general stupidity on display. I think it's quite telling that like the main character Mansu is basically like the protagonist and antagonist at the same time. Like he's literally his own worst enemy. He does not know how to do this, why he's doing it, or what to do. And he just can't get out of his own way, but in the most kind of like Three Stooges, Coen Brothers ass way imaginable. There is one scene in particular which is like a kind of compound bit of like slapstick and like audio comedy, which is also the attempted assassination of a completely innocent man, and I was howling with laughter. It was so funny. So I think if you like dark comedy, Jamie, Park Chan-wook has always had it, but I think that this is maybe the funniest one of his films that I've seen. The lights are starting to go off again. Jamie, say something positive to make the lights come back on.
Well, I was going to say, I think maybe I'm a bit cold on this film than other people, but like, I do appreciate. I mean, I think he's, as a filmmaker, it's incredible. The set pieces, the slapstick, like it's like so enjoyable to watch. Like him, just it's bravura stuff. You know, like he knows how to use the camera and to make entertaining sequences. And I appreciate the sentiment behind the film, the kind of like the premise, this kind of, story about people who get lifted up by capitalism and then spat out. I think it's probably, I guess the whole Western world will be feeling a bit, I think, in like South Korea, I think they had that kind of big boom after the Olympics. And then I think like all kind of nations, they're having a kind of tough time as well. Probably a lot of cultural stuff I'm missing there. But yeah, it's not really an Eat the Rich film because it's an Eat Your Peers film. I was hoping he would start killing a few of the CEOs or the stakeholders. Like that's so like the satire. The satire's more about like how as human beings we have this kind of weird relationship to work that we sort of somehow invest so much in our work, even if your job is like a middle manager at a paper factory. He has such investment in it. He's like so passionate about it. Because I guess it's given him a good life. It's he comes from a world where actually having like a pretty normal job at a paper factory, you can have like a really kind of luxurious life, and then that way of life is coming to an end thanks to capitalism being fucking horrible, and it's all about making as much money as possible. So yeah, that's all great. I just think it didn't all hang together. Like I felt it was quite convoluted. and actually a bit too goofy. Like for example, the film it reminded me most of is Parasite, and that to me is such a film that just like every element of it clicks together perfectly, and I feel like that was a bit clunkier. It was like very entertaining, but yeah, I feel like it didn't really stay with me for long. And I did see it like a couple months ago now, and it's like barely in my brain anymore. So while I did enjoy it in the moment, I feel like it didn't sort of. And I totally agree with the politics, and it's like a satire of like how stupid the whole idea of like working for a factory is, and how it's like it's so sad that we are stuck in this system where we have to spend all of our life doing this just to have some stupid positions. While I agree with everything in the film, it didn't really stick with me the way that Parasite, I can still remember beat for beat every moment of that film, whereas this has just faded away.
Well, fair enough. What I would say is that something that is similar to Parasite but not as good, still pretty good.
Yeah. No.
Anna, you've seen it. You saw it longer ago than that, didn't you? You saw it at
Yeah.
Did you see it at Venice last year?
No, I saw it at the London Film Festival in October. So I'm a little foggy on the details, but I remember really, really liking it. And I think, what you were saying, Jamie, is really interesting, that this film follows the logic of capitalism to its like ultimate conclusion, which is a turning on your competition to the extent of like killing them, right? Like it's not an anti-capitalist, which I think a lot of Bong Joon-ho's films are a bit more, this kind of like pushing against the man, or that tension between like hyper-capitalism and rebellion in some way. Like I'm thinking of like Snowpiercer or whatever. Whereas this person, they get crushed by capitalism and they simply cannot think their way outside of it. So the only way they know how to look after themselves is by following the logic of it along even further. And I thought that was really, really interesting. I think it's just like a really beautifully, like sexily shot film. I remember there were all these like crossfades and like dissolves and things like that were like so cool. Just like really beautiful, really funny, really kooky. Like a great time. Yeah, I really like him. I don't think I liked it as much as Decision to Leave. I think he's made stronger films like The Handmaiden that feel a bit more coherent and sort of almost self-sufficient in their world. But I really like this as a comment on where we're at the moment. Also, tangent, it was really interesting watching this, having been to Hidden Door this year. Because for people that don't know, Hidden Door is a festival that happens in Edinburgh, still yearly, right? It's still annual.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And they take over like a disused or like abandoned building. And this year it was the paper factory in Corstorphine. And they've kind of completely, taken it apart and installed art. And it's like really, really cool. And then this man works at a paper factory. And so it was like a lot of like the same machines, but he's like, we had seen a version of it that was like completely derelict and was being taken over for like, I think a better use. And then he was just trying to make his fucking paper. I don't know. I thought that was fun.
Trying to make his paper.
He was trying to make his paper.
Which is also a metaphor for money. Mm-hmm. It's called satire. So that was No Other Choice. Jamie, out of 5, what did you think?
Yeah, really entertaining. I'd say 3.5.
He's being harsh this week. Anna,
4.
Good stuff. Ellie,
I would give it a 4.
I also gave it a 4 because I do think that it's a little bit long long at the end. I think it reaches a crescendo and then does a little bit of a, well, what a week it's been. But I think people will have a very good time, and I'm going to have the last word on it because I'm doing this. So yes, it's out this weekend, and I believe that some cinemas, Filmhouse certainly, and I believe some other like indie cinemas are kind of pairing this with a bunch of Park Chan-wook bangers from the archives. So you can see some of the films that we've lightly alluded to here as well. But yeah, that was No Other Choice. It's out via Mubi this weekend. Okay, and finally this week, as I just said off mic to Ellie, Jamie and Ellie were at the launch of the Glasgow Film Festival programme today. May as well have a chat about it. So GFF is back. New director, Paul Gallagher. Alison Gardner has retired, moved on, hopefully having a lovely time. So, GFF is back. You guys were at the launch. what immediately jumps out to you, what looks very interesting. We'll obviously cover it in more detail at a later date. So don't worry if you don't cover everything. But please, Jamie, tell me, what jumps out at you from the GFF program? There's only so many ways I can phrase this before I'm just going to have to straight up ask him the question.
Lots jump out, actually. I think, there's always a worry when somebody takes over from someone else, and you're like, are they going to change stuff too much? Are they going to, like, are they going to be able to bring the same kind of quality? And I think, this to me looks like better than last year's program. It's got actually more names that I'm excited about, more films that I've been looking forward to, and I love how it's opening with 2 Scottish films that I'm really looking forward to as well. I think it's the first time it's ever opened and closed with a Scottish film, which I think is kind of cementing GFF's kind of like reputation as kind of the place where like Scottish films to kind of launch, like ambitious ones anyway. So it's opening with Everyone to Camille Street, which is a very anticipated documentary detailing the kind of day when a bunch of just everyday people in a community stopped 2 neighbours being deported by the Home Office. And Filippo Bistostera, his film Ne Passaran closed the festival a few years ago, and it was one of my favourite ever Glasgow Film Festival screenings. It was just like so moving and just electric, and I imagine this will be a similarly electric screening. But yeah, from the main programme, there's lots of stuff I like the look of. Like, for example, Jim Jarmusch has got his new film, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, which won the top award at Venice. It's got a great cast: Tom Waits, Adam Driver, Kate Blanchett, Vicky Creeps. It's like a triptych as well. So like how Jarmusch used to do, like make these kind of films with like little mini short films essentially all stuck together. But telling a kind of like but kind of building this kind of cumulative emotion. So yeah, that looks really good. What else? George McKay's back. He's got 2 films.
Is he time traveling again?
He's time traveling, yeah. He's going to be time traveling with Callum Turner and Mark Jenkins' new film called The Rose of Nirvana, which is like a Cornwall fisherman go on a boat, and there's some sort of time slippage involved. Looks really good. He's also in a Marianne Faithfull film called Broken English. It's her kind of last screen appearance, which looks really interesting. It's like a documentary that blends music with like interview with like sort of fictional parts, and maybe George is going to be there. Maybe you'll remember my name this year. If you remember, he called me Kenny.
I would never forget that George Mackay called you Kenny.
So those are 2 that jumped out at me straight away. But yeah, there's lots of stuff that looks good.
Yeah, loads of big names, like you say, sort of George Mackay and stuff like that. There's also The Good Boy has Andrea Riseborough and Stephen Graham. That seems quite interesting and quite fucked up, about like people who kidnap this like delinquent kid and try and force him to be a good boy, and it's like mental. And Willem Dafoe is showing up in 2 different films. There's Late Fame, where he plays like a guy who is a postal worker, but in the 1970s released a poetry collection, which is only now kind of like hit with a younger generation of artists. So he has to deal with like fame at this really unexpected time. And he's also in The Birthday Party. And I don't know anything about that, but he plays a billionaire who has a private island. And I'm assuming it won't be pro-billionaires who have islands. They're not doing so great right now.
GFF coming out strong in favour of billionaire with private islands.
But yeah, there's like loads of documentaries that seem interesting. There's a Gaelic language documentary called Salm na Doina, Psalms of the People, which is like about going around, I think, the Hebrides and stuff like that, and talking to people about the psalms that they sing in that local area. And there's a documentary.
Does it up to 2 men who fall in love.
I know. I hope it's a slightly better like exploration into folk music recording. But there's another documentary called Boorman and the Devil, which is a documentary about how John Boorman, who directed Excalibur and Zardoz, almost like ruined his career because of the disastrous production of The Exorcist 2. And this is a story that I just have like no idea what it's about, and I can't wait to see it.
Talking about docs about disastrous productions, there's a mega doc which looks amazing. So it's like Mike Figgis was on the set with Francis Ford Coppola for Megalopolis and has made a film about it, which is incredible. Well, first of all, Mike Figgis, like how rich is Coppola that he got Mike Figgis, Oscar-winning director, I think certainly Oscar-nominated director, to just make his like behind-the-scenes film. What's going on here? But I've seen a few clips of it. It looks crazy. So like he's captured all the madness on that set. So that should be a good one to watch, I would say.
That'll be good. Loads of documentary. The only other thing that really stood out to me is something called Steal Away, which is, according to them, a psychosexual fairy tale, and it seems to be about a family that takes in a Congolese immigrant, but it obviously becomes very colonial and disturbing. But only because the programmers described it as this sort of alternate history, speculative fiction work, a lot like Ursula Le Guin or Octavia Butler, and I'm like, those are two writers I fucking love. I can't wait to see that. And it also seems hard to explain based on them and also the summary. So a weird one that I definitely want to get to the bottom to.
Yeah. There's also, there's a few other bits and bobs on there. There is the Charlie XCX film Eruption. Mm-hmm. There is Paul Dane. As Ellie came into the office today and I said, oh, how are things looking over at GFF? And one of the first phrases out of Ellie's mouth was, Jude Law is Vladimir Putin. I was like, I'm going to go make a cup of tea. I'll be back in a minute. And yeah, it finishes with California Scheming. Don't know if you already mentioned that, Jamie, but James McAvoy's directorial debut, which is about the story of Syllable and Brains, the kind of spoof Scottish hip hop group who pretended to be Americans, and the Americans weren't that happy about it. When they found out,
no, the Scottish,
they were miffed. Well, I think that the guys who pulled, in classic prank fashion, when you pull a prank, you're generally pretty pleased with it.
Well, no, as in I mean the rest of.
Oh no, that's what I mean. Yeah, the people who pulled the prank were very pleased with their prank, but the people who were prank adjacent were maybe not the happiest in the world. But that's the life of the prankster, I suppose. Danny Dio's got a new film, which we can't say. It could be good.
The programmer said about this. What's the name of it?
It's called The Last. It's called One Last Deal.
One Last Deal. Where he's a football manager. The words that the programmers used was that he had a Nicolas Cage-esque performance.
No, I think Chris said if Nicolas Cage gave this performance, people would be raving about it.
Oh, I see.
So but I think maybe it is Nicolas Cage. Yes. I think Chris Kumar said it was a bit like Locke. So it's that idea of one guy in a room on their own, kind of just going off.
Yeah.
But as I was saying earlier, Danny Dyer is a protege of Harold Pinter, so he's good at this kind of one person in a room kind of stuff. I think I'm a big fan of Danny Dyer, and I hope it's good.
Maybe it'll go on the long list for the things we review for when we do a Glasgow Film Festival review episode.
Yeah.
There's also some interesting comedy stuff, and one last thing to flag, which is Matt Johnson, good friend of this podcast, who brought the excellent Blackberry to GFF a couple of years ago, is back with Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, which is the film adaptation of his kind of web series and TV show about two kind of hapless Toronto musicians trying in vain to get their band off the ground. As somebody's sat in a very, very cold and sparsely decorated office trying to get a podcast off the ground, I can only say that I empathise and appreciate someone bringing a story like that to the big screen at the Glasgow Film Festival.
This is the representation we need.
One thing they didn't mention is who's coming, if any filmmakers or actors are coming. But Matt Johnson, I remember, did have a great time in Glasgow. He was here for a fortnight, I think. He was here for the whole
they
festival.
couldn't get a shot of him.
Yeah. Going to Greg's every day. He was really into Greg's, I remember. So maybe that's why he's in the festival to come back.
He'll be back on the podcast before you know it.
Sausage roll in hand.
You can't even tell if it's on audio. So we could all have sausage roll. Man, I wish I had a sausage roll right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting distracted by thoughts of food. It's probably time to go. So thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Cheers, Ellie.
Thank you.
We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. This has been the Cineskinny. If you've enjoyed it, please tell us when you see us out and about, and keep your accessories and hats within arm's reach. Bye.
Bye.